middle portion is backwards. Get it? Yeah, the middle portion right there. All right, boys and girls. Every month, we take a step back at a high level and look at what's going on with my path to financial independence. It's compelling stuff. My name's Nick. I'm a retired nurse, and I've been living off my portfolio since January of this year. Maybe I should put retired in quotes because while I don't need to work a 9-to-5, also not really in a place financially where working for the man isn't completely off the table. Not yet. Especially considering there are some really well-paying contracts available to me at the moment, if that's something I still wanted. And it's certainly something I do think about. That said, wanting and thinking are two completely different things. I don't want to go back to my 9-to-5, but the fact I'm still considering it probably says a lot about where I feel I'm at in financial independence, which is to say I feel good, but not necessarily comfortable where I'm at. But without further ado, let's just look at the charts. Chart on? Oh, the chart's already on. It's been behind me the whole time. Chart on sounds like Chardon, which is unfortunate. First chart here, we're looking at debt relative to portfolio value. This does exclude real estate equity. So imagine this light gray shaded area just being approximately $275,000 higher. The gray shaded area is what I'm calling my portfolio value. The darker gray shaded line represents my debt. I don't care how much debt I have. I just care about its proportion relative to the size of my portfolio. The red star here shows where I began converting my traditional debt, mortgage, car loan into a margin account. Meaning I paid off my mortgage, I paid off my car loan, but paid it off with borrowed money backed by the value of my portfolio. Hence why I care about the relationship so much between the debt line and the portfolio performance. The two advantages with doing this debt conversion, I reduced the interest I was being charged by roughly 50%, which is nice. I will take that. The other advantage, which is the main advantage, is that I'm no longer obligated or forced to pay any of the principal, which in turn frees up a ton of cash. And there's plenty of ways to make good use of that cash. So more cash flow and less interest. So what's the catch here, right? Well, when you're on margin, there's a common adverse effect. How do we put this? Your sleep well at night factor, not to be confused with your give a shit factor. Your ability to count your sheep and stay asleep is affected by margin, and here's why. This period here before the star, you can see that my debt is relatively high compared to my portfolio, but I'm sleeping damn good. I'm sleeping fine here. I'm just a dude here making loan payments. As long as I can keep my 9-to-5, I will be absolutely fine. However, after the star is a different story. This moment in time, I started paying off these loans, but I'm still in possession of that debt, right? This dark gray line continues on, but it's now married to the portfolio. Its size relative to the portfolio really matters. The higher the debt relative to the portfolio, the less I sleep at night. And the opposite is true. Because if my portfolio suffers a substantial drawdown, something in the neighborhood of 50%, M1 Finance, which is the broker I'm using to borrow the money, M1 can force me to sell pieces of my portfolio to cover that debt. And that margin call, were it to happen, could devastate, cripple future returns. And just to be clear, in May, April of 2020, this drawdown right here, which is conveniently right after I started purchasing these loans back, corresponds with the bottoming of the market last year when the world was in full shutdown. I was uncomfortably close to a margin call then. And then fast forward to March of this year, I moved across the country and I bought a condo. That's this part of the debt you see effectively tripling. I'm not super comfortable with this amount of leverage, but at the same time, I don't plan on increasing it anymore anytime soon, not until the ratio of the portfolio value to the debt widens, right? So this graph really represents my risk tolerance. I have some levers I could pull to mitigate future risk, but that's something I'll keep you guys posted on if it's something that needs to be addressed Hopefully not. All right, next chart here. This one's fun. This is sort of how I visualize my annualized income, theoretically at least. The tall bars here represent what would be a 4% withdrawal rate from my portfolio. It excludes dividends and interest, but includes rental income. You can see up here, if I was living off of my portfolio, it would be like earning $70,000 to $75,000 for that year-to-date period, 2021. And even a little better, it wouldn't be like actual earned income as if I was still working a 9 to 5. And we should also note that the 4% rule I'm using here is really just a framework for context. None of the literature on the withdrawal strategy applies to my portfolio specifically, really. Not even close, but as a framework, it still has value. The short bars you see here on the bottom, you can see that there's like a nice, smooth, slow trend up. These are the real dividends my portfolio pays me each month, and then I annualize it for this graph. I consider these dividends as capital being returned back to me that I'm forced to pay taxes on. So that's why I exclude it from the actual annualized income. So how does this work in practice? Imagine I wanted to pay myself $5,000 a month. If $1,000 came from rent and then $1,000 came from dividends, then the remaining $3,000 would have to come from my portfolio. So it's either by selling positions in the portfolio or borrowing against those positions in the portfolio. Whenever you can safely borrow, you can both reduce your tax burden and increase future expected return because you're still maintaining the shares. You're just paying interest on them. Of course, the keywords there being whenever you can safely borrow. All right, so that was fun. What's next? This one's quick. I just think it looks pretty. It's a pretty fucking chart. I'm not gonna lie. It's gorgeous. So real quick in this, we're just looking at real estate equity, debt, and portfolio value stacked on one another. You can see that the real estate equity makes up a pretty small portion of my net worth. So the real estate equity being the darkest part of the blue all the way up at the top. Mainly what's important here is keeping the middle portion backwards. Can I get it? Yeah, the middle portion right there, keeping that part in check relative to the other parts of blue chart, right? I want this part to be the biggest, and I want that middle part to be in control relative to the rest of the portfolio. All right, last chart, my dudes. Let's move on. Annualized income on the left versus annualized expenses on the right. Using my version of the 4% rule, my income would have covered my expenses for the month of August. Annualized income increased month on month from August to September. You can see that my expenses also rose. I call this channel my lemonade stand because at the end of the day, I want to think of it like a business. So with that thought in mind, I need to increase the left side of the chart and decrease the right side of the chart. And so far, I'm doing a real shit job of it. The good news is that these monthly expenses will begin to reduce, I hope, as some reoccurring payments that I have start dropping off, which is going to hit on this month, October, or maybe it's next month. I'm not sure. I feel okay with where I'm at. Not great, but not stressed the F out either. So just okay is okay. My name is Nick. This is my lemonade stand. If you've made it this far, holy crap. See you in the next one.